Welcome, much love, Trav here, and we're going to have a discussion about wealth for those of you interested in wealth, the 5 types of wealth. This will help you become wealthier in your lifetime, and discussion of it will help me become wealthier in my lifetime. Now, for some of you, the first thing you're thinking is, why should you listen to me about wealth? I don't have a whole lot of money. I don't have property or tangible assets. However, if you observe my lifestyle, if you observe the sorts of things I do and my presence on the internet, I have a sweet life. I hang out with cool people. I do cool things. I'm operating on a totally different kind of wealth that can at any point in the future be turned into conventional wealth. So, that's why you should listen to me. Although, again, if you want to correct me or challenge my position on this, feel free. So, 5 types of wealth. These are all interrelated, and I'm going to go over them generally. We're not going to be able to get into too much specifics. This could literally be hours-long presentation. So, 5 types of wealth. The first type of wealth that we should cover is what we think conventionally of wealth, fiat wealth. Fiat wealth, fiat currency wealth, money, dollars, exchange. So, what fiat currency is, you call it fiat, fiat makes sense to pronounce it to me, but what fiat currency is exchange between people, goods in the marketplace, companies. It represents currency, or it represents goods and services, but it is not tied to anything physical. The dollar does not have a gold standard. It doesn't represent anything other than an arbitrary market decision over the value of this, and this applies to stocks and bonds as well. So certain rules you need to know about fiat wealth is that it tends to be, especially not all around the world all the time, but it tends to be inflationary. Since it's arbitrary, it's printed in paper and more zeros are created, and the purchasing power of money decreases over time. This isn't problematic, it just means you need to spend your money. It incentivizes exchange. It incentivizes you to go out and spend your money, because the longer that you save fiat wealth, the less purchase power it has, the less value it is worth. So and also, another reason why you don't want to hoard onto years and years of fiat wealth is hyperinflationary periods can just totally wipe out the value of currencies. The US hasn't really gone through something like this, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't in the future. But there's basically hyperinflation of essentially of stocks when stock markets crash. Like, you can lose everything if you're too invested in fiat wealth. It's totally arbitrary. So that is, personally for me, why I'm not so concerned about it. I see it as a means to an end of the other types of wealth. And it's also why a lot of people who do well and make a lot of money convert it immediately into tangible wealth. What is tangible wealth? Number 2. Tangible wealth is something that you can hold or step on. Tangible wealth can be deed to property. Tangible wealth can be land, farmland. Tangible wealth can be a stockpile of silver or precious metals. And the cool thing about tangible wealth is in land you can literally grow food and you don't need money. Similarly, with tangible wealth, it's very easy to convert back into fiat wealth, not necessarily at a win or a loss, but it's very easy to just sell tangible wealth if you need to. The purchasing power may decline, but it will never disappear, or it can in certain contexts, but for the most part, this is why we see people invest in wealthy people own property, right? That is what wealth is. And this is the 2 conventional types of wealth, like property and money. And at this point I basically have neither. However, I'm setting myself up in a position of the other 3 types of wealth to get these things later if I want them. But again, they're just means to these other 3 types of wealth, which we're going to get into in detail now. So, 3rd type of wealth, social wealth. Social wealth is networks, organizations, relationships, mentors, followers. Social wealth is awesome because fiat wealth can disappear through hyperinflationary, or it can become hard to get through depression. But as long as you have social wealth, you have connections, you can take care of people, people will take care of you. It's extremely safe. Social wealth, in my mind, is one of the is way more important to invest in, because if you have social wealth, it's very easy to create conventional wealth through that. Just connecting people or helping people or people who care about you. You can make yourself a victim. Charity is something people have figured out they can take advantage of social wealth. I don't necessarily recommend that, but that's just one of many examples of how social wealth is powerful. And that is, you see, I have good relationships in real life with mentors around me, but I also have good relationships on the internet. Not only am I acquiring followers, but I have propinquity with you. Propinquity is a kind of closeness. So we think about social wealth in terms of width, which is how many relationships you have, and in depth, which is how deep those relationships are. So I really go for depth of relationship, me personally. But I mean, there's so many examples of social wealth as well. If you have an organizational team that works for you, that's social wealth. And that's why in hyperinflationary periods that basically reset everyone's fiat wealth to zero, people who have tangible wealth and social wealth can just create more, right, out of nowhere. It's very easy. These other types of wealth make it very easy to create conventional wealth. So we have fiat, we have tangible, we have social. Next up is knowledge wealth, intellectual wealth, skills in the marketplace. So if you know how to do things that help people, you can easily convert that into conventional wealth, especially if you have social networks of social wealth. For example, and this is something I invest in too, there's been periods where I haven't invested in it as much as I should, but there's periods where I invest in, you know, I have skills, right? I can make videos, but I know how to make sales. I know how to design websites. I know how to run ads. These things are very useful and relevant in today's economy. So if you have knowledge wealth, you have intellectual wealth, you know where to target your resources, and you have skills that people want, very easy to convert that. You will never run out of money because you have skills that people need. You can solve problems, right? So social wealth, invest in courses, classes, trainings, experience, skills, etc., right? Does that make sense? Now, number 5, and this is the most important type of wealth by far, and you can't even argue with that, is physical wealth. Because when you run out of physical wealth, you're dead, right? You're dead. You cannot convert. All these other types of wealth can help you with your health and prolong your life, but ultimately it's all a means to an end of. And again, maybe you can put in a 6th, like legacy, or 7th of other types of things. But physical wealth, pretty much, if you are healthy, physical wealth is almost a prerequisite to all these other things. Like if you don't have physical wealth, it's very hard for you to get and hold on to these other types of wealths, because you cannot offer very much in return or in exchange anymore. So that's why, if anything, you know, at my age, 26, for my cohort, I'm behind in terms of fiat and tangible wealth of my peers, but I'm way ahead in terms of social. I would say that I'm ahead from the average in terms of intellectual knowledge, skill wealth, and I'm certainly ahead of the average in terms of physical wealth. Now, knock on wood, and a lot can go wrong for me, but that is why there is a contradiction where I can at the same time be very poor from conventional terms, not very poor, but somewhat poor from conventional terms, but very wealthy in terms of lifestyle and happiness and so on. So I find that to be super interesting, super useful. Let me know what you think. Where are you invested? Where are you ahead? Where are you behind? Be self-aware. It's okay if you're behind in certain areas. Awareness is super important. You can be your own coach, be your own detractor, and be realistic. And also, how do you think I'm wrong? Where do you think there's a 6th type of wealth? Am I wrong about how these... I didn't get into extreme detail about how these interact with each other, and that could each interaction could be its own video, but I'm not going to do that. If you want to go into detail on anything, leave a comment below. Also follow me on Snapchat, Travis D. Wu, so you can see the cool things that I do. Much love. Take action.